Are you tired of your Pokemon matches looking like this?
No.
Well, it turns out it doesn't have to. And all it takes is a little creative thinking. Stick around to find out how. If you've spent any time playing competitive or online Pokemon, you're probably well acquainted with Pokemon like, or maybe, but certainly some of these. There's a trend in online play where the same Pokemon get used by most players. Is it because these Pokemon are inherently better than others? Sorta. But if that were the whole truth, you wouldn't be watching this video right now. I'm here today to highlight a lesser used Pokemon and really show off just how versatile some off-meta picks can be. I'll be doing that by taking a team consisting of just one species of Pokemon into the Anything Goes bracket of Pokemon Showdown, a playlist famous for people spamming legendaries and other strategies banned from competitive formats. Who's this perfectly well-rounded Pokemon that could stand up to monsters like this, you may be asking? Well, it's Corsola. Yeah, that's right, the water rock Pokemon that was so irrelevant that even in its own generation, it barely saw any love. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Let me talk about why I think I can claim this guy as one of the most versatile Pokemon in the game. On a perfectly balanced team of 6 Pokemon, ideally you'd have these roles filled. A special attacker, a physical attacker, a special and physical wall, a support/setup Pokemon, and then a more technical member that's good for niche scenarios and counterplays. Most of these teams will have a good amount of crossover for these roles, but essentially you'll need to have these options available for a nicely balanced team. So now, let me show you how I managed to fill these positions with a piece of coral and then a few less alive pieces of coral. The first member of the team filling the support/setup role is... It's Corsola. All the roles are going to be Corsola. I'm just going to get the build. For traditional Corsola, we have 3 abilities to choose from: Regenerator, Natural Cure, and Hustle. The first 2 being exceptional abilities for a support Pokemon. For this, I went with Natural Cure as toxic stalling is a real issue in Anything Goes. And for the moveset, I have Reflect, Light Screen, Recover, and Toxic. Hey, if you can't beat them, join them. To aid my screen escapades, I have Light Clay equipped. This gives you more opportunities to set up other strats, but I think if you wanted to use Corsola in a different format, you could drop Recover for Stealth Rock and switch Natural Cure to Regenerator, because you're going to be switching between Pokemon a lot anyways, so I think that gives you a lot of options. As for the EV spread, nothing really serious. I just maxed out HP and defense for tanking hits, and that gives you at least 1 wall guaranteed, but you'll more than likely be getting both of your walls up, and then maybe even getting off a Recover or Toxic. Next up for the normal Corsolas is the Pokemon filling my role for a physical sweeper. On its own, Corsola's attack stat isn't much to write home about, but with max EVs, a choice band, and hustle, you'll be doing massive chunks of damage when you hit, just like this. But that win is a big factor. Hustle increases a Pokemon's attack by 50%, but also lowers the accuracy of physical moves by 20%. And unfortunately for me, I wanted big damage, so I took Head Smash as my Stab Rock move, which already has an accuracy of 80% to make up for its massive 150 base power. With a Stab boost, that makes this move's base power 225, but the accuracy is only 65% with Hustle. And for Pokemon, that might as well be 10%, because you won't be hitting more than 1 in 10 of these. EV spreads on this one aren't too complicated either. Just max HP, max attack, adamant nature. You don't need to invest in speed because you won't really be outspeeding anything that you need to. And the max HP along with the screens from your other Corsola are going to help you survive long enough to attempt to hit things with your horrible accuracy. Next up, we're into the new Corsolas, and probably the ones that most of you have actual experience with. When Sword and Shield first came out, I saw a lot of Galarian Corsola online, but for some reason people have sort of started ignoring it. It is a bit of a one-trick pony, but come on, how could you ignore this cute little depressed face? Anyway, these two are a package deal. I referred to them a lot as the twins while I was playing with them. Essentially, one is going to be your special wall and the other is going to be your physical wall. How are these Pokemon so bulky? Well, Game Freak decided to make the horrible mistake of giving a Pokemon that was at one point meant to be slightly viable on its own an evolution, meaning that now a Pokemon with a base 100 physical and special defense has access to Eviolite. This puts its defense stat at 150 each, meaning it's as bulky as a Pokemon like Diancie with more HP. It has the same defense as Mega Metagross, but 40 more special defense. I don't think that there's a single non-stat boosted or Dynamaxed Pokemon with the ability to one-shot these guys. The specially defensive one specifically is a hard counter for Horseboy. Dynamax, it takes a +1 Astral Barrage, and then OHKOs with Max Phantasm. Even if you have the physically defensive one out to take special attacks, there's a good chance you're just going to live anyway. giving you the opportunity to abuse its busted move pool. Both of these are going to have the absolutely insane move Strength Sap for obvious reasons, Will-O-Wisp, Nightshade or Hex depending on your preference, and then an off pick, but one that I kind of think of as a no-brainer for this Pokemon, Whirlpool. I don't think I've ever really seen anyone use Whirlpool online, and to their credit, 99% of the time it sucks. Its accuracy is bad, its damage is bad, but it traps you in the field with this monster. You're able to trap and chip away at physical attackers with Will-O-Wisp and Whirlpool damage while you Strength Sap, making the opponent do less and less damage, all while you heal back to full. Stalling a full team out like this isn't really its main job though. I mostly used it to switch into these next monsters. Cursola has seen much less competitive play than its pre-evolution, but honestly my love for this guy is the whole inspiration for this video. Before I tell you my build, let me get this out of the way though. Excluding Megas, Cursola is tied for the 15th highest special attack in the game, which doesn't sound like much, but then if you exclude legendaries from that list, it's tied for the first highest special attack in the game, along with Chandelure and Vikavolt. Under the right conditions, a Cursola can be an unstoppable special sweeper. Unfortunately, its biggest weakness is its pitiful speed. You wouldn't really think you could get much slower than a sentient rock, but turns out if you kill that rock, it does actually get slower. That being said, Game Freak made mistake number 2 with this Pokemon and gave it access to the ability Weak Armor, an all or nothing ability that gives you +2 speed every time you're hit with a physical move. It does also lower your defense, but hey, if you're faster, you won't be taking many hits. And at 130 special defense, it's got some nice natural bulk to take on special attackers. Your strat here is going to be to trap a physical attacker with Galarian Corsola, Will-O-Wisp and Strength Sap it down to where it's hitting like a wet noodle, then keep it trapped with Whirlpool. This makes it easier to guarantee a weak physical strike for when you switch Cursola in. You're going to have your EVs max into special attack and speed with a plus speed nature, meaning that with one weak armor proc, your speed will be at 348. This lands you pretty safely faster than most non-choiced Pokemon, but note, you will need to watch out for most big threats like Zacian though. However, this build still allows for some countermeasures. You have 3 set moves that you really need. Shadow Ball for reliable stab, no need to explain that one. Next is Meteor Beam, a 2-turn move that on the first turn raises your special attack and on the second turn actually attacks. Kinda trash on its own, but pair that with Power Herb and you skip past the charge turn, meaning you get a special boost and probably knock out any Pokemon that stays in to take the attack. Third is going to be your big brain move, Endure. If you're not aware, Endure kind of works like a worse Protect. You still take the hit, but you will always survive at 1 HP if it's going to knock you out. But that's exactly why you want it. If you take the hit, you get your weak armor proc off, meaning your speed goes up and your defense goes down. But if you're at 1 HP anyway, it's not going to really matter that you have lower defenses. And if your speed is raised, you're just going to be able to start sweeping things before they can even attack you. That's the beauty of the move. It can allow you to outplay certain Pokemon and continue getting your weak armor procs off even while you're at 1 HP, allowing you to outspeed just about anything. Your final move is going to be really up to you. Cursola has a ton of options for coverage, so you can really pick any move that counters Pokemon you don't like dealing with. Tired of Ferrothorn walling you out? Burning Jealousy takes care of that. Just don't want to deal with Landorus anymore? Take your pick. Ice Beam, Blizzard, Icy Wind. Personally, I took Psychic for the option to set up Psychic Terrain and eliminate the threat of priority moves, making sweeping a bit safer, but that's only while Dynamaxing is still a thing. The big thing to remember with this build is you have to play it smart. There's not a lot of room for misplays. Last but certainly not least is Cursola again, but this time repping its unique ability Perish Bot. This Cursola is primarily going to help you seal the deal or take out other gimmick Pokemon on the enemy team. So when anything goes, a big issue you run into is Baton Pass teams. Sleep Powder, Compound Eyes, Butterfree, or Minimize Clefable are the big ones. Without the right countermeasures, these strategies are pretty scary, so I went ahead and tailored this Cursola to be their worst nightmare. Let's start with the moves. I really switched up a lot on this one, but I found that my favorite set was Burning Jealousy, Strength Sap, Whirlpool again, and finally Perish Song. A bit redundant with the ability, but you need it to counter special attackers and other setup Pokemon that won't be hitting you. For the item I have Chesto Berry. This is such a stupid play that most brain dead Butterfree players are never going to see it coming and guarantees you get off a Perish Song on it. On top of that, I found that most players had no clue that Baton Passing just carries over the Perish effect to the next Pokemon, resulting in a lot of stuff like this.
What the dog doing?
The other big counterplay is that Perish Song doesn't check accuracy and it goes around Substitute, so minimize spamming Clefables aren't safe either. I'm sure you're thinking, if you're just going to be using Perish Song, why even bother with the ability? And to that I say, stop it. Stop. Stop underestimating Perish Body. But actually, again, you just have it for niche plays. So the big counter to Perish Trapping in Pokemon is just to switch out, and normally when you use Perish Song, there's nothing stopping your opponent from switching out the next turn, invalidating your whole setup. Now you do have Whirlpool on the chance that they stay in and risk it, and then you can trap them in with that, but that's only going to work once or twice maybe. The moment they realize you're trying to trap them, they'll just switch out immediately. That's Perish Body's benefit. For physical attackers, it's a death sentence. Once you have Cursola in, instead of setting up with a Perish Song, just immediately go for Whirlpool. Best case scenario, the physical attacker hits you, triggering Perish Body and sealing their fate. Worst case scenario is they set up on you and you just click Perish Song next turn. They're still going to be trapped with Whirlpool, so you're free to come and go as you please, but they're stuck until they die. Burning Jealousy is here just in case, because like I said, Cursola's special attack is still the highest of any non-mega or legendary Pokemon in the game, so even an uninvested hit from one is going to do a lot of damage. And just as a note, if you and your opponent are both on your last Pokemon and you both perish on the same turn, the win will technically go to your opponent because you'll faint first. So having a move that can do some damage is going to help avoid that scenario. You could take Shadow Ball or anything else you want to do damage, but I found the potential burn from Burning Jealousy is going to help out a lot. As for EVs, you want Bulk to stall out Perish turns. Max out your HP for sure. Then, due to the nature of Perish Body, you're going to be expecting to take a lot of physical hits, so putting some investment into defense is good. I personally maxed mine out and then just sort of relied on Cursola's naturally high special defense, but you could put all of your investments into special defense and then sort of rely on burning from Burning Jealousy and then strength sapping to deal with physical attackers. That should get you pretty covered. And that's the team. In the background of this video, I've been showcasing a few matches, and there's going to be a couple more here at the end if you want to stick around to watch for tips on how to use this team. I do think that any of these sets can be successfully implemented on their own into other teams, which is sort of the main point of this whole video, to prove that you don't have to stick to Pokemon classified as OU or Uber to be successful. Almost any Pokemon with the right preparations and enough knowledge can be viable. The most important thing is just to be familiar with your team. Know your matchups. What hits do you live? Who do you outspeed? Which threats take highest priority? And all that's just going to come with practice with your team. For example, what you aren't seeing in this video are the tons of matches I just got bodied while trying to figure out how to deal with Calyrex. But once I figured out what my counterplay was and who could actually tank hits from it, everything kind of smoothed out. And now we're at the end of the video. So, like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. It really tells me if you guys want more content like this. And I do have other Pokemon in mind that I'd like to do this with. So, thanks for watching.